Welcome, Chevre, to our Defining Tanya share. We are still in Aleph. By the way, just to tell you, Aleph is the letter in Yiddishkeit because we started with Avos Hashem, bang, straight into it. And then after Avos Hashem, with all the different Avos Hashem, then we have Oiraisa v'Kudsha B'Echad Kol Echad, the Torah and Hashem is one. Then we have Achdusai v'Yichud Hashem, v'Yichudoi, like the Achdus of Hashem. Then we have Acharayim. Then we have Elohim Acherim. Then we have Ish Yisrael, which is like all that. That's going to take a long time to get through Tzaddik Meiloni in Russia, understand what a Yid is. Yeah, then then just to finish off, we've got Emuda. Yeah, that'll last a while. MS. So we got Aleph is where it's all at, basically. So we spoke about Achtas Hashem last week, and we're going to go a little bit wider, just bringing different mashalim to try and cut this. So we spoke about Koyach and Poyel Benifal. You remember what we said about that? How when I threw my phone up in the air, what you're seeing is my koyach. The phone is the phone is neither here nor there in that. It's just revealing my koyach. Yeah. So too, this world is Hashem forcing it to be every millisecond. Actually, the Nefesh Chacham, I think it says 1,080 times a minute. I think something like that. Or no, 1,080 times an
An
hour.
hour.
Yeah,
An
that
hour, yeah.
3 seconds. Works out every 3 seconds. So anyway, whatever you want to work that out. It's like the refresh rate. It's like how many hertz is a screen, you know? So Rav Yoel Khan asked the question, could Hashem have created the world in a way that wouldn't have needed him? That's a big question. Meaning this world is dependent on Hashem, kol rega v'rega, that he's breathing life into it, and if he was to stop causing it to be for 1 millisecond, it would just vanish. Nothing. Yeah. So could Hashem have made it that it would have a kiyum without him having to have done that? So the way Rav Yoel Khan answers it is yes, of course he could. He could do whatever he wants. And this is the romantic part of the equation, is why didn't he? And what is this thing about Achdus Hashem? Like, why do we drive ourselves so crazy over Achdus Hashem? Everything Shema Hashem Echad and Elohim Acherim and all the everything is about one. Yeah, we were the ones who brought monotheism through. Like, who cares? What's the big deal about Yichud Hashem? Who cares? So it's actually very romantic because it's the reason for it, the way Ravanas explained, is how your relationship with your wife should be. It shouldn't be that your wife is the best woman. Your wife is the only woman. There are no other women in the world other than your wife, your mother, your daughters, your sisters. But they're not women anyway, good for you. There's only one woman. She's not the best. Yeah. She might be that as well, but that's irrelevant. She's the only. That's how you need to relate to your wife. And that's why, because that's just a moshel from the Boina Shloim. There is only one. So he wanted to be intimately involved in the world. So he created it in a way that it's absolutely dependent on him for every millisecond because he wants to be intimately involved in the world. How much more intimately involved could you be than breathing life into it every second? You couldn't be any more involved. And the oneness that is the whole point. It's an union of marriage. It's the union of marriage. That's how it's meant to be. Like Adam and Chava were the original. That was the L'chachila plan. Yeah. So there was just Adam and Chava. There was no other. There was no. There wasn't Sally and Betty and Sola. There was just Adam and Chava. And that was how it's meant to be, and that's how it should be. That's how we should relate to our wives as Chava. Literally, there's no other woman in the world. And we should do everything we can. Literally, the Shulchan Aruch says you should be misrachek ma'oid from Nashim. It says ma'oid twice. You should do as much as you possibly can to create as much distance between you and every other woman in the world other than your wife. In her, you should do as much as you can to create as much closeness as you can. But for every other woman in the world, even a smile is a big concession. I know that you're in America and you might get in trouble if you don't smile. You can smile, but it has to be very matter of factly, and to not say anything extra than what you need to say, and um to also not compliment her like her. If you need to say something, say about the thing as opposed to about her. Like I told you, had the experience the other day with a lady who emailed me who's dealing with a very difficult situation with her husband. She's got a real really very difficult husband, and she wrote me an email about how you know just explaining how she's grown over the past few years. And I've known her for years, and she's just being unbelievable. So started writing an email back to her, and I wrote, you're amazing. And I was like, that's not right. And I deleted it. And I wrote, your attitude is amazing. That was trying to be Miss Hazaka, but trying to reduce the intimacy. That's it. That's a zivug. It's mamash alpi Kabbalah. When you smile at someone, that's called a zivug. A zivug, that's called that's a merging. Zivug is the word we use for relations, mamash. So any compliment, any kind of closeness, when you create closeness, that alpi Kabbalah is called a zivug. And you don't want to be mizdaveg with anyone other than your wife. So Michael, yeah.
Good question. Would this be another example? Is let's say you're at a friend's for Shabbos for a meal, rather than saying to the wife, "You're a fabulous cook,"
Yeah,
you can say, "This food is delicious."
absolutely. That's the point. That's the point. Yeah. Yep. You have to be really careful, especially where you are in LA, where everyone's so friendly and happy. You don't have to upset anyone, obviously. That don't like not look at people like whatever. That's not necessary for most of us. Yeah, there are people that is very necessary for, but for most of that kind of avoidance is not necessary. Um, but you have to do everything in your power to create as much distance between you and if you can't do that, for sure, don't create any closeness. That's for sure. If you can't create distance, definitely don't create any closeness. So we are speaking with Yitzi about this, the idea of calling women by their Mrs. So and so. Yeah, you can't like once you haven't done that, it's very difficult to change that. But if you haven't done that, if you've just met somebody, you should, without any question, call them Mrs. So and so, without any question. It's very important. Very important.
There's offices that I've heard in New York, New Jersey that operate like that as office policy.
Yeah, I mean, you should. What you mean from offices? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, listen to that. I mean, I was speaking to my little sister who's secular Jew in North London, and telling me about the kinds of things going on, with different, with couples and how they're, and I was saying I said to her, there's three things that I thank Hashem for a lot of things, but when it comes to our relationships with our wife and our non-relationships with everybody else's wife, three things that I'm on my knees thanking the Rebbeinu for every day. Yeah, number one is Nida, Tas Mishpacha. Yeah, that is just a genius idea. Okay, if you can say such a thing. Thank you, Rebbeinu Shalom. It's funny, I put my thumb up, it just gave a big thumbs up as I said that. But that is Tas Mishpacha for keeping the marriage alive is just the most, it's Machaya, number one. Number two is Dinah Yichud. Yichud, that you're not allowed to be in a closed space with a woman. Yeah, that is another fabulous tool that we have to, to help us not create any closeness with any other woman. Even like the idea of leaving the door open. I remember in Sfas, there was a girl, also my neighbors sometimes do this as well. I remember when I was a bochum, I was, early 20s, and there was a girl it was like a Kylie Bach Matzah. I was actually at Hanan Solomon's house. Yeah, Yehuda Solomon's brother. And he plays, they play guitar for Havdalah. It's really very special. And there's this pretty girl there. And I remember she had the Basamim, and I thought she was going to pass me the Basamim. And she put it down on the table next to me, and I picked it up. I thought that was, I mean, it was difficult when I was then it was like annoying. But looking back, that's a wonderful thing to do. Again, don't get crazy with it, but to pass something into somebody's hand is a level of intimacy. And if you're in the right place with your marriage, then that's going to be a no-brainer. It's going to be natural to you. If you're in the right place with your marriage, the assay toiv of building the relationship with your wife is reflected in the sumeira, the lois assay toiv, which the lois assay of creating richuk from other women. So that was a bit of a chizuk for us, but that is a very important that's very very important. Um, so I'll just tell you just to harp on the idea because it's a chizuk for us. Is a lady got married just recently last week, who I was a ben bias at her house when I was a bocher. She got divorced about 6 years ago, and she's the most wonderful person. And I've also worked with her a lot. She's a wedding planner, whatever. I work with her a lot, and we feel close, as in, but she calls me Mr. Diamond, I call her Mr. Whatever, and we have no, but we, there's have you said. So she got married. Yeah, I wasn't gonna go to the wedding because I didn't know the new guy she's marrying. But it's a big hatzalah for her. She's been, she's had it's been very difficult for the past 6 years to say the least. And I was so happy that she got married. I just got so happy. And I'm gonna actually read you the email that I wrote to her because I think this is a big Toelis. 1 minute. I'll read you the email that I sent to her. Oh no, wait a minute. Oh no. Oh, I can't find it. Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I wrote her an email basically saying I said I just can't, I couldn't not write this email. I CC'd my wife on it as well. And I just said a massive mazel tov, and I'm, very happy, and and a brocha. And I said also, please don't email me back. I felt that was the I didn't want it to. I just wanted to know that I'm thinking there was no need to. I'm just that's the mindset that it should be. We should be in that mindset. Yeah, that you don't want to upset anyone, and to be as nice as possible, but at the same time the goal is to not create any closeness with any other woman other than your wife. Okay, so that's what it is with Hashem. That's the inyan of Avodah Zarah, and that's why there are all these hachokas from Avodah Zarah. Yeah, because that is Avodah Zarah is called cheating on the Avodah Shalom. That's niyuf. It's actually, if you look, it says in Yana Diyoma you have the Seres Dibros, yeah. So you have it split into 5 and 5. Yeah? Bein Adam Lemakom and Bein Adam Lechavero. The first one of Bein Adam Lemakom is Anoichi Hashem. Yeah? Munus Hashem. The first one of Bein Adam Lechavero is Lo Sirtzach. Yeah? Don't murder. Because belief in Hashem is the belief in the Tselem Elokim and the chashivas of every human being, and that you're bottled, that you can't, the world belongs to Him, and that you can't, it's not in your killing somebody is the ultimate expression of being God. A man who takes the life of someone else, that's, by the way, what drives a lot of serial killers. and also doctors and things like that who like do havdil, like surgeries, that feeling of being in control of someone's life, that's a godly thing, yeah. So Anoichi Hashem and Lo Sirtzach go with each other, yeah, and all of them go with each other. What's the next one? Lo Yelecha, yeah, don't do avodah zara, and Lo Sinaf, don't have a niyuf, don't be don't have don't be infidel, don't, not, how do you say that, as a, don't be infidelity, don't be unfaithful, whatever. Yeah, the issue of infidelity. So that's avodah zara. So that's the inyan of Achdus Hashem. That's why Achdus Hashem is so much on our lips. Is that there's only Hashem. Just like there's only your wife, there's only Hashem. Don't worship Trump. Don't worship economics. Don't worship climate, whatever they call it. What they call it? Climate disaster, whatever.
Change.
Climate change.
Is that a thing? The climate change thing? Okay, don't worship that. Don't worship money. Don't worship yourself. Don't worship your own pleasure. Don't worship anything. Worship is exclusively there for the Bnei Shalom. That's what it's there. That's Achdus Hashem. So we've got two more mashalim. Actually, we've got three more mashalim to get through. Okay, the first mashal is, or it's not the first because we already gave a few mashalim. I'm not sure if we said this, but we'll say it again quickly. The idea of a moshel. Did we speak about a moshel last week? When you give a moshel, yeah, the reason why you give a moshel to someone, an analogy or metaphor, is because your mind is bigger than the Talmud who you're trying to give it to. So the idea that you have in your mind doesn't fit in the mind of your Talmud, so you have to be mumshel it. You have to dress it up in clothing that will get past his smaller mind, and then it will unzip inside him, and he'll start to chap. Yeah, the language is unfamiliar, the concept unfamiliar, but if you can tie it to a familiar language, then he will understand. Yeah, that's the point of a moshel. Now. I think we did say this last week, but the point is that to the one giving the moshel, yeah, we did. I'll say it quickly. To the one giving the moshel, the mumshil, yeah, the one who's being mumshil, the rav, there is no moshel. He's just connected to the idea he's trying to give over. Okay, he has to dress it up in a way that you're going to hap. But in his mind, all there is the nimshul. So this world is a moshel for the Rabbeinu Shalom. And therefore, mitzadoi, in reality, the truth is that there is no world, especially from his perspective, because all it is a moshel. It's just a means to get himself over to us. That's the idea. That needs a lot of pondering. Okay. Okay. So
Shmuel, sorry, I just want to sit on that for one more second. I apologize. So if the whole world is a mashal,
yeah,
and Hashem is giving the mashal, that means, so you said what? That means that there is no world according to him? Because if the world's a mashal, is that what you said?
Hashem is the nimshal. The world is a moshel for Hashem. It's called the moshel kadmoini. Yeah, so Hashem is the nimshal. He's trying to give himself to himself, really. He's made the connection between him and the Shekhinah. That's what's going on. Yeah, he's trying to give his masculine side to his feminine side. That's called the Yichud Kudsha Bricha Shchinte. That's the chasna of well. And
it sounds like we should just get out of the way.
We should what?
It sounds like we should just get out of the way.
That's all we're striving to do. That's the only thing we're trying to do over here. Just stop interfering. Like Kriyas Yamsuf. It's like Kriyas Yamsuf. Like if you and this is really available to us as well. We're not talking about really high avoiders. It's really available to us. The first step is get rid of your telephone. But if you can do the right avoiders and work in the right way, you can silent your nefesh Bahamis, yeah? he just gets softer and softer and softer and softer and softer. And he just starts becoming less, he just stops talking to you so much. And he really does. He starts to take a back seat. And he pipes up. You're a big Tzaddik if he doesn't ever pipe up. But the avoider of getting him to be less in your life is a real avoider. It's very available to us. If like what we talk about the whole time about the idea of being machnia yourself to people, and making sure when you park you leave room for the guy in front of you even though he's not there, yeah, and taking one towel, all these things that we talk about over and over and over again, yeah, which is a way of life. Like when you're walking down the sidewalk, yeah, don't walk in the middle, walk to the side. Say it's just, oh, I'm not walking in the middle. I remember when I was a kid walking across the road in a place called Harrow, and it's like gangster guy in front of me. I'm like a 12-year-old kid, yeah, a 13-year-old kid. And when you walk one way and he goes that way, and then you go the other way and he goes that way. So I remember it was in the middle of the street. Yeah? I'm a little kid. He was probably 18, 19 years old, yeah, 17, 18. I go this way, he goes this way. I go that way, he goes that way. He just gets me, throws me on the floor, says, get out of my way, just walks straight through me. That was where he was holding it. that made an impact on me for the rest of my life. I'm never going to do that. I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna walk to the side of the street because I don't want to be anything like that man. Yeah, it's a way of thinking. If you're constantly in that situation, yeah, and you'll see every minute you've got. How am I going to sit? Am I going to sit here like this, or am I going to sit here who am I to sit there like this? And I'll sit there like a bench. Yeah. Now I've just, I've got my arms, so I'm closed in. I'm not like, like all spread out and stuff like this. It's a complete way of just running your life, and it's 24/7. And what happens is that voice inside you that is just trying to kill you and making your life, and not only your life, more importantly, everybody around you, their life, a misery. He just starts to shut up. He just stops talking so much. And then, and this is really an amazing thing, is that then you start making decisions. You can start making decisions without thinking. You start to know what to do. I'm telling you, you start to just know what to do. Doesn't mean that you go with always, but you start to know what to do just on a very internal level. You just know what the right things to do is, and you don't need to. And somebody could come to you and start giving you, well, what about this? What about this? And you'll be like, I hear. And that's just thinking. That's just letters. That's just words. I know. You know what I'm saying? It's a very, very important. That's a very important thing that we're not like aiming for that pleasure, but that's the avoider of this world. Is this the avoider 24/7? Is sitting there at the table and you're with your kid who will happily do whatever you ask, yeah, and you need a drink, you want to get a cold drink. What's the toilet of asking your kid? You're just being lazy. You don't need to teach him he's already, it's not like the other kids who are like, oh, and they'll go and get it and you're helping them. Yeah, this kid, he's there. So you go get the drink yourself. Get a drink yourself. Who are you to push him around? He's not your Eved. Yeah, that kind of thought, I'm here to help. Just constantly reaffirming that thought in your mind. I'm here to help. And then people say, oh, but then you become a schmatter and you're like, you've got it all wrong. You have no idea how selfish this is of me. Because your life becomes so gewaldic. Your life becomes so pleasurable when you stop being so impressed by how this world treats you, good or bad, yeah, you just stop caring, then life becomes such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Especially when you haven't got that voice in your head who's constantly destroying everything and annoying you and being horrible and trying to. One of the things that voice does, I've seen by a lot of people, is it constantly tries to create situations, lose-lose situations for you. constant. I'll give you an example of what my wife said to how I did a few years ago when we made the kitchen. But you'll see it in most people. Most people. Just this is a good not innocuous. What's the opposite of toxic? No, not innocuous. There's a better word. The opposite of toxic. Not innocuous. What's the word? Innocent. Anyway, a very not threatening example was we redid our kitchen, and my wife says she wants a very light kitchen, but she doesn't want fingerprints on the cupboards. And that's what happens if you get light cupboards. So I was like, okay, well you've lost. You can't win. If you want a light kitchen, you have to have light cupboards, but you're going to get prints. Or if you don't want to have dirty cupboards, then you have to get black cupboards. You're going to have a light kitchen. So it was a lose-lose. May, you don't like that. What's wrong?
Well, it's not true. It's just a misconception. Dark stuff actually gets dirty more easily. That's all. It shows fingerprints.
Okay. Well, okay. So I hear what you're saying, but the idea was, my wife didn't realize that, if that's true, which it could be. But
And I'd love to sort of disagree with a lot of the other stuff you said, but it would turn into a whole therapy session for me. So I won't weigh everyone down with that. But thank you.
what about caring about other people?
My natural disposition is that I really care, and all those little things that we try to train ourselves to do within the derech of avodas Hashem is my natural way. Like I'm overly sensitive about parking so that I'm leaving space for someone else. This has been my way my entire life. In many examples, even like making sure that the svarim are in the right order, when the chumash goes on top, and all this stuff, and it's really weighed me down. I've become burnt out. I've become burnt out. And I'm not. Yeah, I've become really burnt out, and I'm trying to actually deprogram myself from a lot of these things. Like,
That's interesting.
I want to serve Hashem because it makes sense, not because it's my disposition or because I'm indoctrinated, but because of whatever. I actually went to a therapist several years ago. He's like a neo-chassid kind of guy, he's starting to look like you a little bit. And he has a Baal Tshuva background, and he's a really stark guy. So he would always bring in Torah to our sessions. And the key reason I went to him was because, see, I've already taken over. I don't know.
How good is it, Mike? You mind?
I started going to him when I turned 40, and my goal for going to him was just to become a better version of myself. That's all I wanted to do, was become a better version of myself. The 7 Habits, I read that book again for the 5th time, like all that stuff. And I started going to this guy, and there was very limited parking by his office. He had a parking spot in front, but there was no street parking around. There was alternate side. It was crazy. And there was an amazing savings right across the street. It's a Jewish, a owned store, and they had so much parking. It was crazy, but I never parked there. And the guy once said to me, he's like, I noticed that you don't park like in the Amazing Savings. Like everyone else that comes to me parks in the Amazing Savings. I'm like, but I don't shop there. How can I park there? He's like, but everyone parks there. Nobody cares. They have extra parking spots. And I couldn't park there because it wasn't emistic. It wasn't like I'm not allowed to park there. And here's a guy that's like more on the derech than me. He was becoming more from than me. He was like whatever. And he was telling me I should just park there. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't. If I walk into a show, I can't use someone's stender. It's someone else's stender. Like, how can I do that? These are things that are like deep inside me. So just referencing the thing you were saying about how like you're walking down the street and this guy bumped into you and you went on the other side. I remember an episode of a TV show that I was watching at the time with my wife about how the character was actually played by Michael J. Fox. You might remember him from back in the day, Back to the Future. And he was like this arrogant attorney, and he bumped into someone in a whatever, and he said to this person, he's like, you're either the person that bumps into someone and says, excuse me, I'm so sorry, or you're the person that says, get the F out of my way. You're this or that. And that spoke to me at the time. Like, I thought maybe one of the reasons I'm not successful in my career or whatever is because I'm always the apologizing guy, as opposed to the guy that says, get out of my way, So I've been trying over the last 5 years to deprogram myself from being this like guy that just like goes and like wants everything to be okay. I'm going to get the drink for you, or I'm going to park in the far part of the parking lot so that there's for sure a spot for someone else. So I hear what you're saying, and it's a beautiful thing, but like maybe I've taken it to extreme, or maybe I'm coming. I don't know. That's
because I think I get I think I get what you're saying. What I'm saying here, I know this idea of who am I would also translate as well. Who am I to let him get away with saying that? This
good.
isn't
So
not
that's
talking about
another level of empowerment. That's something I've learned over the years. Is every time one of my clients talks me out of $100, they say, "Give me a discount, $100 discount." I'm not saving them $100. I'm stealing $100 from my family, right? My family, my wife has $100 less to spend on a new dress that she wants to buy because I give a discount to someone else, right? So, right, you have to put it in perspective of you within your whole life.
We're talking about training yourself to appreciate that you're not the center of the universe. If you're dealing with certain people, there are certain people who will take advantage of that kind of mindset. Yeah, and now you have a responsibility to not allow that you are responsible to not allow that to happen unless you consciously choose that you're going to do that. You're going to be that kind of. The point is that these actions are flowing. That it's not that you're looking at these actions as individual separate things. These actions are flowing out of a center. They're flowing out from one place, which is I am not God. That's where it's coming from. So it's not overwhelming because it's not many different things. It's not meant to be overwhelming. It should, if it's coming from the right place, it's not overwhelming because you're not thinking in this situation I do this, in this situation I do this, and all these different things. There's just one thing. It's like I'll give you a good example. Yeah, a person who deeply loves his child, very very deeply loves his child, and is an intelligent person as well. Yeah, a put together person. Okay, the child comes in and they show you their test, their 6-year-old child comes in, they show you their test and they got, 98%. What do? You put your hand on on their face and you look at them in the eyes and that is unbelievable. I'm so proud of you. Yeah. That same kid who you see run across the road, yeah, and nearly got knocked over by a car. What do you do to that kid? You wouldn't be wrong to give him a smack and to definitely shout at him and to wave your finger and say, Chaz v'shalom, and bring him to tears. It's the same love. It's the same love that in the first scenario expresses itself as a gentle hand and loving words and a deep, emotional stare. It's the same love that's causing you to wag your finger and say, Chaz v'shalom, Chaz v'shalom. You go to your bedroom right now or whatever it is. It's not, do you hear what I'm saying? It's not, there's not two things happening. It's just an expression of your love. That's where we're trying to get to. Then life stops being overwhelming. That's why the tzaddik is called Shabbos, because his whole reality is just if I'm here, then my reality will look like this. If I'm there, then my reality looks like that. But it's not separate, disparate things that I'm playing at. It's all just me being expressed in different places and different scenarios. And then there's only one. That's what Habakkuk said was tzaddik be'emunaso yichya. He stood the entire Torah on one. Because if you're looking at the world as a fragmented reality, I will finish off on another point on Tu B'Shvat. When you're looking at the world as a fragmented reality, yeah, you've got 613 things to deal with, yeah, 365 not to do, 248 to do, and that's pretty intense. But tzaddik be'emunaso yichya means that all of that dissolves to the one, which is the Ribbono Shel Olam. In this situation, I'm serving Hashem with tefillah. In this situation, I need to do tzitzis. In this situation, I need to give tzedakah. In this situation, my wife needs to go to the mikveh. That's all one thing. It's all an expression of the one Hashem. And now, just to bring it back to Tu B'Shvat, is the Gemara says, Chazal say that the Rishayim are Malay mitzvahs karimon. Yeah, you've heard that expression before. The Rishayim are full of mitzvahs like a rimon. Yeah? May, you've heard that? Sure. So the Pashup Pshat, which I don't want to take away from, I am going to take away from it though, but I don't want to take away from it. The Pashup Pshat is that all Yidden are full of mitzvahs. Great. But why karimon? And what's the Indian of the red? And what was the idea of Rebbe Meir? Just to bring it back to you, Rebbe Meir used to learn from Acher, yeah? And it said that he would, it was like pulling off at the klipa of a rimon and eating the mitzvahs, eating the payus, the garinim, the fruit of the rimon, yeah? But he would get rid of the husk. That was Rebbe Meir. Why? The Indian is, Pipnimius, is that inside the Russia, his mitzvahs look like that. He's a fragmented being. If you look at a rimon, every tree has its own little place. So it's not in this sense on a deeper level. It's not a shevach to the Rishoyim. Yeah, although that's the pshat. And I don't want to take that away. But it's actually a lesson into how reality inside the Russia looks. And that's this inyan of hafrada, of fragmentation. And that was the Torah of Acher. Yeah, Acher was compared to that. So Rebbe Meir, who was a big tzaddik, he could take those peiros, those individual peiros, and eat them, and within him it becomes one. And that's the kesher between a nivus and a novim, which is grapes. I know it's a base and a vav, but they're the same. They can be interchanged because of the heimot pair, the different places articulation of the mouth. So what's the kesher between an anov, a humble person, and anavim, which is grapes? Grapes are the exact opposite of rimonim. A rimon is a single fruit with a hard klipa inside with lots and lots of fragmented fruits. A grape is a bunch of grapes. Crack open a grape. What does it look like? It's a complete oneness, a complete unity. So that's the inyan of Achdus. The Anov, the humble man is one internally, and he can get on. And because he's internally unified, he exists in context of a bunch. Whereas the Rimon, who is internally fragmented, exists isolated by himself. You with me? So our avoida is to get panimi. And how do we do that? I mean, sitting in on these shirim should help, I hope. And learning the Torahs, learning Tanya with the Masorah that we have, and speaking about Hasidus and constantly talking about these ideas. This really helps because love dafka learning, learning certain halakim of Torah won't necessarily help with this. In fact, that's the inyan of it can become a sam maves. Torah can become a sam maves. It can become a sam chaim. So this is the avoider is this unification of our inner world, and that's really what this Yitzi. This is really the goal of the Blessed Life seminar that we're putting out, is to help people get to this idea that is predicated on, the first thing that this is predicated on is keeping promises. That's the first avoider of coming internally whole, becoming internally one. That's the first avoider, is the commitment to your word, because that is putting yourself second, putting that fragmented part of yourself second. And this is the problem, is a lot of the time with secular, I don't know about this guy you were talking to, but with secular therapists, is they don't understand these inyanim. These are deep, this is what Hasidus is. This is what Kabbalah's about. This is what our Masorah has been, handing down for many, many years. So there's a lot of like psych up, hype up kind of, strategies, like pump up strategies But we're trying to get to a holistic life where you are living one life and everything is existing in the context of Avodas Hashem, and everything then becomes one. And then life, you can be leading a life that most people, if someone tagged along with you for a day, yeah, if they got up when you got up and literally shadowed you until the minute you went to bed, they wouldn't be able to imagine what you do. And you're absolutely not overwhelmed in any way, shape, or form, because you're not doing loads of different stuff. You might be walking quickly from one place to the other, even maybe learning a sefer while you're walking there. And you're walking at the side of the road and you're making sure to not leave, not take the extra person's space, etc. Yeah. But it's all just expression of the Rabboni Shalom in your life. So you could be working on not 12 cylinders, working on 13 cylinders when you're only 12 cylinders, yeah? And you're fine. You're fine. And people are getting lifted up around you. And that's when you become whole. That's where that's not the goal, but that's a prerequisite for Avodas Hashem. That's like, it's just necessary. You could call that simcha, psichas alev. Okay, shkoyach chevre, we're finished there. We brought in Tu B'Shvat.
That was great. Thank you.
We should be zeicha to wholeness, like a fruit, like an apple, like a grape. Wholeness, not like an orange, like an apple or a grape. Grapes and apples are very halig. You never hear doesn't talk about oranges in Shir Shirim. Okay, Zygers and Chevre. Happy Tu B'Shvat.